Welcome to our tutorial on building a 3D tower defense game in Java. Throughout this series, we will learn how to design and implement a captivating game from scratch while exploring fundamental concepts in game development. To get started, let's set up our development environment. You'll need Java Development Kit, JDK, and we will be using a popular game engine called libgdx, which makes it easy to build cross-platform games. First, go to the official libgdx website and download their setup tool. It's essential to install the dependencies, including the Android SDK if you're targeting mobile platforms. Once the setup is complete, create a new project using the libgdx setup tool. Follow the prompts, and remember to choose 3D as one of the project types. This will set up your basic game structure. After your project is set up, navigate to your project folder in your favorite IDE. Let's jump into the game's main class, usually named mygdxgame.java. Now, we will set up our 3D camera. The camera will facilitate the view of our game world. We'll use a perspective camera for this purpose. Next, let's create our game world. Since this is a tower defense game, we need to design the path along which the enemies will move. For our tower, we need to create a simple 3D model. We recommend using a tool like Blender to create a basic tower model and export it as an OBJ file. This can give us flexibility in visual design. Let's create a tower class in Java to manage the tower's logic and state. The class would handle properties like damage, range, and attack rate. Now that we have our tower class implemented, we will also need an enemy class that will represent the attackers with attributes like health and speed. With the tower and enemy classes created, it's time to write our game loop. The game loop helps us update game objects and render the scene. To make our game feel more alive, we need to add some input handling. We'll implement controls for placing towers on our map. Next, we will implement the enemy spawning mechanism. This will allow us to generate enemies at regular intervals in the game. As for the enemies approaching the path, we will need to make them move. This requires updating their positions each frame based on their speed. Collision detection is key to our gameplay. We need to determine when a tower hits an enemy. We can use bounding boxes for this. Now, let's implement the mechanics for the tower to shoot at the enemies. We will establish the attack range and call attack methods when enemies are nearby. Next, we will include a score system so that players can keep track of their performance. Let's also add a UI to display the score. To enhance the visual experience, let's explore adding particle effects for tower attacks and enemy deaths. These effects can be integrated using libgdx's particle systems. Additionally, we should add sound effects for the actions in the game such as enemy spawning, tower firing, and enemy death. Let's incorporate those elements. Now that we have all major functionalities in place, let's finalize our game. This involves polishing the user interface, ensuring that all actions are smooth, and optimally rendering the game. At this stage, it's also important to test the game thoroughly. Make sure there are no bugs and the gameplay is enjoyable. In conclusion, we have developed a basic 3D tower defense game in Java using the libgdx framework. I hope this tutorial has been informative and you find it helpful for your projects. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more game development tutorials. Happy coding!